Hello, everybody.
Hello.
So, I don't know if we have any real topics today.
Well, we can always chit-chat about life.
It doesn't really matter, though. Even if we have topics, nobody watches or comments or anything, so.
Well, we usually get so far off topic when we have we're in left field anyway, so. What in the world is that? Oh, that's a diaper commercial. I was wondering why you're looking at little kids.
I'm trying to research this topic. I want to talk about it, but the website is so fucking horrible. Fox8.com, your website sucks. You want people to go there and to read your articles, but the pop-ups are absolutely terrible, and then it's never done loading. So when I start reading, the whole page shifts to load some stupid ad.
Right.
Fuck you. Sorry, but fuck you. I'm so frustrated. All I want to do is read the article that you put up there, but I can't because of the never-ending ads and how much money do you need to make when your website is unlegible because it won't stop loading? And this is just like every website nowadays.
It's nuts.
I don't understand it. And these websites get traffic.
They do because people put up with it because they want to read it and they don't want to have to pay for content.
I just can't believe it. Apparently we're being infested by some insect. I'd love to tell you all about it, but I can't get the page to stop loading.
And it's only, I think, what did it say, 4 or 5 counties? I can't remember exactly what. Like I said,
12 counties.
Is it 12? Okay, because I couldn't get mine to load this morning either. I was on my phone. Yeah, it's nuts.
Unbelievable. It's like, who's got the time to sit here for 15 minutes and wait for this page to find? And then I get what, 2 paragraphs?
And then it jumps.
Well, no, not only that. It's literally 2 paragraphs, and then it's over. Now I'm on to a whole other topic.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not even seeing the go next to continue reading. It's just done.
Okay, so apparently it's called a lanternfly. Are you getting that?
Spotted lanternfly. So I'll read the 2 paragraphs that it's available to me. The spread of the spotted lanternfly in Ohio has prompted the state to issue quarantines in areas seeing infestations of the invasive bug. Now, it doesn't tell me how it's invasive. Even if it did, I wouldn't be able to read it because the page is all over the damn place. The pest, originally from Asia, just like the Asian carp, I guess, poses a significant threat to the agriculture and forestry due to its destructive feeding habits.
I got a nice picture of one here. You want me to show it to the camera so people can see what these things look like?
No, they can Google it.
It's
a
pretty
you can show
weird.
It if you want, but have fun with that.
That is a weird looking bug. Check that thing out.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Japanese beetles of the 80s.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a beetle and a stink bug put together with spots on it.
Yeah, it does. Is that wings or is that a shell?
I believe those are the wings that are folded up there. But they probably do make a shell because it looks like it's pretty hard. That's a pretty wild-looking bug. Quarantines
are in effect in 12 counties, 4 of them northeast Ohio, Cuyahoga, Lorain, Columbiana, and Mahoning.
Here's a map of
They're all around Stark, but they haven't hit Stark yet.
No.
Hey, look, I was able to read 3 sentences before the page jumped. The spotted lanternfly feeds on the sap of various plants. Now, how are they destructive if they're only eating sap, including fruit trees, hardwoods, and... I don't know what that word is, and I really don't care. The insect is characterized by its distinctive black and yellow spotted wings, as well as its bright red underwings. Now, here's the part that really gets me. When I watched this first time, it had a video on it from the same website. I know that because I shared it in email so I can bring it back up. But it's a completely different look now. And the guy reporting on it actually stomped one out of existence right there in camera. Now, you may think, who gives a shit? But in these days, when everyone wants attention, I can't imagine people not being up in arms and all over in the comments because a guy killed an insect right there in front of you.
Well, this page I'm reading loaded pretty quick. I did the Ohio State one instead of the news one.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because it's an educational page. Maybe they're a little less on the...
I think they just want less money.
Yeah.
These jackasses, and I hope that pisses you off because you deserve it. All I want to do is read your article, and you're making it damn near impossible.
Okay, so that barely got that.
Nobody has that much patience.
Did you catch all of them or just the ones around us? Because it looks like we have Columbiana, Cuyahoga, Erie, Franklin, Hamilton, Jefferson, Lorain, Lucas, Mahoning, Muskingum, and Ottawa counties.
Yeah, this one here just gave like 4.
The ones that are on, yeah.
And then there's another link, and I'm scared to death to touch that link.
Yeah.
Because it'll probably be loaded for the next 3.5 days. But
let's see.
Anyways, the reason I'm saying I don't care if the guy kills an insect, but there's so many people who are dying for attention that they'll have a conniption fit. And then he did that not just to get people like me to rant. He did it because the government of Ohio is telling you to kill these insects. If you see them, stomp them, because they're trying to. And I think if everyone just kind of gets an idea, they can stomp a couple a day, and that'll probably work.
Well, this says here, the one that I'm reading says that the adult ones will die as soon as winter hits, but the eggs and larvae will still be around.
Yeah.
It says here, soon the adult cold temperature. It says the female will lay between 30 and 50 eggs.
Yeah, it says that here as well. When it's done loading, the spotted lanternfly eggs. The spotted lanternfly lays eggs, masses of 30 to 50 eggs, especially on flat surfaces, according to the Department of Agriculture. All other life stages of this insect, from to adult, can fly, hop, drop onto a vehicle, meaning that this pest can easily be transported all over the world.
There you go. There's a nice picture of it.
Well, from here, it just looks like tree bark.
Yeah, but you can see, like, see how there's the rose that looks like bark? That is actually the stuff. That's pretty wild. Because it does kind of look like tree bark. That's going to make it rough. See then how it's all white and pasty looking?
Mm-hmm.
It just looks like foam on something.
Wow, it looks like mold or like that. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, there's an. I can't think. My brain isn't working. There's like a mold or something that gets on trees.
Yeah, like a fungus kind of.
Yeah, fungus. Stuff. Thank you. Yes. That was a word. All right. Well, I'm leaving this wretched website. Hopefully, never to return again.
So it looks like they must be in Pennsylvania as well, because this picture of the eggs is from the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture.
Oh.
So they must be in PA somewhere as well, or why would the Pennsylvania have pictures of it? Unless they have it so they can prevent it from happening, maybe. I'm not sure. Here's Penn State University pictures. That is interesting. So anyway, apparently these little buggers must eat a lot of sap and kill trees, or something in their saliva when they eat the sap does something to poison the tree or something. I have not seen anything on why.
Yeah, it doesn't. Same thing with the wretched website. I couldn't get to finish loading. It never said how they're evasive. Do they kill other insects? Do they disrupt? I mean, can they not be eaten by other insects? Like,
yeah. Well, let's look at this up.
The Japanese beetle came and went.
Well, there's still a few of those around.
Yeah, but not like we used to. When I was a kid, they were everywhere. Kind of pretty looking, too, but they ate a lot of crops. Of course, now there's almost no farming anywhere in America, so...
Yeah, here we go. We'll just Google it like that. It says they can damage country and negatively impact the agriculture. Yeah, okay, how? Let's see here. Now it says read more. Let's go down to this little show more. Okay, it says that they can feed on a large variety of plants, including grapes, hops, fruits, hardwoods, yada yada yada, and as they eat, it stresses out the plant and kills it, and reduces crop yields. Spotty mold.
Just spotty mold? Just
no. It says that they excrete a substance that's called honeydew, which can attract bees, ants, wasps. It also causes mold. Oh, see, I wonder if that's why that stuff looks like mold. The eggs are underneath the mold in the pictures we were seeing. Remember we said it looked like mold? Uh-huh. It says the honeydew can also lead to a spotty mold, which can damage the plants, inhibit their growth, and ability to photosynthesize.
Interesting.
That was a big word. And
I never could have gotten through that sentence.
I don't know how the hell I said that word.
I would have botched that in no time.
Should pat myself on the back for that one. Let's see. There's more of the egg laying economic impact. It can cause significant damage to the agriculture and tourism industries. Well, I would say I could see that. especially agricultural tourism. Sure, if it's messing up trees, people are not going to want to come here and look at our pretty landscapes anymore.
I find that hard to believe. I mean, do people really come to Ohio to look at a tree?
Well, not a tree, but groups of trees, forests, as they're driving. Look at how pretty it is, Like when we go for a ride on a motorcycle, we don't ride through town where the buildings are, do we?
I would like to.
No.
I would like to. See what's available, see what's going on. I mean, I've seen enough trees to last a lifetime.
I don't know. Screw that.
That's why I go to New Mexico, to see the brown dirt, because it's different and I don't get to see brown dirt. I get to see weeds and shit that I'm allergic to.
Well, there's your problem. You're allergic to everything.
Some people were just born in the wrong place. Of course, I'm the dumbass who stays here.
So apparently, these things aren't even supposed to be in the United States, not even in certain places. It's supposed to be just in Asia. So how do we get rid of these stupid things?
Oh, we'll get rid of them. They'll die off eventually.
Yeah, well,
put it this way: if nature didn't put them here, there will be something in nature to take them out. It just takes years for that to happen.
It'll figure itself out. But so that's apparently it. Whenever it eats or lays eggs, it damages the crops to a point that it significantly
what I worry
changes
about?
The yield.
If they're damaging crops, they're going to have to come up with some new poison, or maybe we'll luck out in the poison they already put all over the crops to keep the insect off. Yeah. But if they have to come up with some new thing to kill this new evasive bug, guess what's going to go up?
The price of everything.
The prices of crops.
Everything.
And then when they finally get rid of them, their prices will never come back down. It's like eggs. Eggs used to be $1 a dozen.
Yeah, they're what, $2.35, $2.45?
Yeah, and you know why they went up? Because there was bird flu.
Yeah.
This was years ago. So they jacked them up to like $1.50. And then the bird flu went away for 3 years, and the prices never went down. Then something else came along. Or was it another spout of the bird flu? Doesn't matter.
I don't know if it was the bird flu or if it was just a chicken type in something that happened.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
And then the prices went up again, but they'll never go down.
Exactly. It's just like when all these people complain about, well, the Dems did this and the cost of this went up, yada, yada, yada. I want, and I'm like, do you think that if they bring back the Republicans, they're going to give you back your money or lower the prices? Because they're not. Yeah,
they're not going to lower the prices until we make them. It's just that simple. It doesn't matter who's in office.
Right.
Trump can't force companies to set prices.
Right. Same thing.
Now, I'm not saying that the Dems aren't aiding
absolutely
these companies for price gouging, but what I'm talking about is bird flu hits. Okay, the price goes up, but when it never comes back down, that's when there's a red flag, and we don't do anything about it. We just complain.
Well, gas is the same way. They hold production so the price goes up, and it goes up in like an hour, 25, 30, 40 cents, but it takes a month for it to go down 25 cents.
Yeah.
Even if they bring production back up.
And it never does. Oh, that's another thing. Now that it's election time, have you noticed the gas prices dropping?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Don't be fooled by that. They're doing it so the Dems can go up and say, well, we finally managed to lower it. No, they didn't lower shit. They lowered them to keep themselves in office.
They just took off some restrictions so there was more of a reserve. And that's why the prices
don't forget that the people selling us oil, Trump doesn't want to buy oil.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
So those people, like I'm going to assume it's the Saudis who are selling us oil. They're lowering the cost because the Dems buy their oil.
Well, the other problem that you have too is, and this doesn't impact it as high as other things, but the Dems don't want anybody here in this area, in this country, fracking and pumping oil. They want it all done somewhere else, so it's environmentally, crappy for them or whatever, because they think that people don't do things right. But
that's just how stupid the people are.
Yeah, so now that it's election time, all the restrictions and stuff, I don't know if you know this, like I have people that work in the oil field. Guess what? They're working more the last 6-8 months than they have over the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, bring that price down so they can.
Right, they're just adding to that.
And honestly, I'm going to go ahead and call it 90% of the country will not put that together. And they'll say, oh, see, the Dems are working hard.
Well, that's because people only want to look at what's in front of them. They don't want to look at what caused.
They want to believe what they want to believe.
Yeah, and they don't want, like I said, they don't want to look at what causes things.
Yeah.
Just like, when everybody's like, oh, minimum wage is going to be $15 an hour. That'd be great, but the problem is...
everything else goes up.
Right, because if you think the CEOs and the companies are going to just say, hey, that's right, we'll make less money and pay our people more, you're wrong. They're just going to make us pay more for the same products.
Right. And you know what? I had this conversation with a woman at work. If you really take a minute and think about it, And I mean honestly, not just half-ass so you can be part of an argument. I'm talking really think about it. People complain about how these CEOs make too much money. But there's drawbacks. First off, you're responsible for everything. And if it has an owner and or a board, you're the first one to get axed. Right? So think about it. Your job is the least secure of all of the employment opportunity at that company. Secondly, you don't get vacation. You only get vacation when everything's going well. As soon as something happens, you're done and you're in. You don't get weekends. You don't get hours. Again, you only get to sit home when everything's going well.
Right, and if you try and travel, forget it.
Well, you can do it, but you'll just be called back.
Right,
It's one of those jobs. It's so high stress. I don't have a problem with a company paying a CEO a ton of money, especially when you need a CEO.
Right.
And that's, you're giving up your life for X amount of years for this company because you're the top dog. What bothers me is people just thinking, I don't know how to put it. Like, it's like a child's way of thinking. Well, the CEO can make less money. Okay. Why don't you make less money at your job? Oh, no, I'm already making... Yeah, that's what you're asking. It's like, how about we just bring up? Oh, there's a word, I can't think of it. When multiple companies make the same product and they force each other to lower the price.
Oh yeah, I can't remember.
Competition, but there's a word for that, and I can't think of it.
I can't remember what it is either.
But that's what we need to do. But when you lower minimum, it's been proven so many times. I can't believe people still argue like it. Thomas Sowell has proven it. Proved it.
Yeah.
That when you raise minimum wage, everything else goes up.
Right.
Poverty goes up. It's that's just the way of the world. You can't just these people need to get out of the virtual world and get back in reality long enough to understand how it really works.
See, and I don't even know if it's the virtual world. Like I said, I think they're just thinking about what's right in front of their face and what they want and where they want to be, and they can't be there unless things change.
Well, what I meant was
I think about the repercussions or why. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm saying that I think they're divorced from reality.
Well, and I think they kind of are. And I don't know that they're divorced from it or if they just don't think about it. Like, let's be honest. Like, it's just a complete disaster. Everything. Like, they don't understand. Like I say, and the other thing that when they wanted to raise everything to $15 down, I think we were at, like $7.85 or something was minimum wage.
It was pretty low. I think it was like $8.
It might have been $8. But anyway, still, that large of a jump at one time is going to just completely put everything into a tailspin. Do I agree that people should make more money and be able to live comfortably? Absolutely. No. I got no problem with that. If you have a job and you work, I think you should be paid to where you can live your life. Do I think that people should be making $15 an hour living like somebody that works, like I say, let's just say like back at that particular time, people that worked in the oil field were making in the $30 an hour range. Do you think somebody that works at McDonald's should be living the same lifestyle they do? Absolutely not. They don't do the same type of work. They don't put the same risk in. They don't put the same time in. They don't, spend the same amount of time away from their families. Those things all come at a detriment to you and your family, so that's why you make more money.
Not only that, but I believe in, how do I word it? This is where I piss myself off because I can never think of the words I need to make an intelligent argument. I just kind of fumble through it. But there are supposed to be jobs, entry-level jobs, that teenagers get. Those jobs don't pay much because what they're learning working there is more important. They learn structure. They learn how to take orders because if you don't, you get fired. And an adult working there should only be working there if it's a second job or if they're having to rebuild their life to some degree.
Absolutely.
Or if they just moved in, something like that. But it is something you do to build up. You either work at a place like that for a year to show to the next employer that, hey, I can work under these conditions for a year, or
I showed up to work. I did what I was asked.
It is an entry-level job, and if you don't have, think about it, if you jump out of high school into McDonald's and you're into a career flipping burgers, that makes no sense to me, and it's difficult for me to put a finger on why, other than they have. Would you, if you worked at Timken Steel?
I did. For 10 years.
Would you hire an 18-year-old who just graduated high school and never had a job before?
Absolutely not. He'd probably be dead.
I don't know how to put it any other than that.
I don't know.
Not only that, but will he show up to work, or will he stay home because he stayed home in high school when he was sick?
Right. Well, but the thing too about Timken, it might not be as bad now as when I started there. But when I started there, if you didn't pay attention to what the hell was going on, you were a greasy spot.
Right. And those jobs are, I mean, every job has its level. Even what I do, if I didn't know how to drive properly, I'd be getting in car wrecks.
Absolutely.
And I also drive forklifts in my position, so you have to know. And I'm kind of getting mad at the company I work for because they have one forklift at one branch that has no horns whatsoever.
Well, they need to fix that. That's an
Right.
OSHA violation, and they will be fined for that.
Right. And I'm trying to tell them, but they're just the people in charge, because they're college educated, has all these college educated answers and excuses instead of looking at the real problem. They just
It's a
give
horn.
me
It's going to
clever
cost
excuses.
you $50.
Dude, they could take one off. I work at a truck company. They can take one off the shelf and just wire it into the battery. I mean, as long as the horn works. Anyways, I'm digressing. I'm just simply saying I didn't want $15 an hour at McDonald's when they talked about it way over a decade ago.
Right.
And now we're seeing it, and it kills me because it's like us
Well, see,
Gen Xers, we're doing this.
well, the other thing that it kills too now is, and this is also another problem we have, and I don't know how to actually fix it. But now you have a lot of people that are like single mothers and stuff that used to be able to, they would get a regular job and they would pay a babysitter and they would go to work. Now those people are like, screw it, I'm not doing that. I can work at McDonald's part-time for $15 an hour, and I don't have to worry about this because I can find somebody to watch my kids 3 days a week, yada, yada, yada. So now you have young girls that are teenagers and whatnot that used to make money babysitting that can't because those people don't do that anymore. You have
Not only that, but
teenagers
you can't trust anybody anymore.
well, and now you also have teenagers that are looking for an entry-level job that want to do things the right way. They can't because all those positions are filled by
adults.
people that are, right, adults. So now that's causing another spot of an issue on the bottom. But like you say, it's people don't want to think
You remember
about that.
a long time ago when big companies had daycare in the building?
Absolutely.
You would come to work, drop your kid off, and it would be like luggage. You drop it off, but
Yeah.
the daycare would be in.
Lunchtime, you go get your kid, you have lunch together, and then you drop them off and go back to work.
Yeah. I mean, does that even happen anymore? I mean, not
No.
even. I think that dropped before COVID.
The
We can't blame that on COVID.
The last place I seen that, you're going to laugh. The last place I seen it, I used to work out at Bally's Total Fitness, and they had a daycare place where if you went to work out, you could drop your kids off to play with all the other kids, go work out.
That was to work out, though.
Yeah, and come get your kid.
Nobody works out for
But
8
they
hours.
paid for
I
it.
hope.
But they paid for it.
Yeah.
You didn't have to pay extra for that as long as you had the membership that included it. I mean, it cost you a little more a month.
Good for them.
But, I mean, how much more business do you think they got for that? Single moms, things like that. I bet you they got a lot more business.
Yeah. Well, nothing else. Just maybe the daycare.
Right, that's what I'm
I
saying.
mean, I had a gym membership for a year, and I went 3 times.
But if you were a single mom and you had kids and you
Right.
didn't have to worry about shoving your kids somewhere to go work out, you could just take them with you, drop them off, go work out, come back. Boom, you're going to show up more often.
Right. I think well, I don't care if you hate me or not. I think most parents today are children with children.
Well,
And I think that they're so distrusting they would never trust a daycare, which, I mean, there's evidence to suggest that's not stupid. But
yeah. Well, I'm 52 years old and I'm still a kid, so I can't
Huh?
say much. I'm 52 and I'm still like a little kid, so.
well, anyways, so
But I agree 1,000%. Like,
I can't remember what got us on this topic.
well, just the whole, yeah. But the other thing that you have a problem with too, like you say, is now nobody cares.
Nobody,
They take these
everyone's
jobs
lazy.
and they don't- yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean
I don't
that.
care.
I don't care if you want to get triggered or not. Nobody wants. Look at us. I have been begging for 3 years for some kind of feedback so we can make this podcast that people want to watch, but they just can't be bothered.
Right. Well, and then, like I said, but then,
And it's pissing me off. We got one comment on a video last week, and it's a word I have no idea what the fuck it means. So it's like, and first off, the guy put this word up. I have no idea what that means, so it doesn't help me at all.
did you put it in Google Translate?
I did. And,
Got nothing.
well, it gave me so many different options of what it could mean.
Oh.
It's like, which one do you pick? But anyways, I don't want to give this guy any credit because he's not helping. He's just doing something. Whatever
Right.
he's doing, I don't know. But I mean, we're asking for help, and he just can't be bothered. And if you're not going to help me, then I'm not going to pay attention to you.
Well, see, and like you say, but when you get back to the other thing, people lazy. Well, it's not that they're lazy. People just, I'm not doing that for that kind of money. If you want me to do that, you're going to have to pay me.
I was talking about comments.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, but in general, in the workforce, I don't get paid to do that. Yeah, actually, you do.
Yeah, that's another thing. This whole they don't pay me for that. I mean, a company pays you to be an employee. Most companies.
Well, most companies,
If you have a skill set, that's different. If you're an HVAC guy and you get a job at an HVAC and they're asking you to load a trailer, that's
scrub the
different.
toilet or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm talking if you're an employee to a company, then you're pretty much signed up to do whatever they tell you to do, unless it takes special skills.
Right.
When I worked at the repo company, they asked me to weed whack one year, and I told my boss I didn't want to do it.
Right.
And he's like, well, it wasn't that I was saying that's not my job. I never said that. What I said was,
I would rather not.
Right. I told him, I said, I really don't want to do that, and this is why. I'm allergic to everything I'm going to weed whack. And I told him, I said, it's not about the fact that I'm better than that. It's the fact that once I weed whack it, I got to take Benadryl. Once I take Benadryl, I'm done for the rest of the evening. And I said, now think about this. You're sitting in front of your computer, and you've earned this job, and I'm not disrespecting you, but when you're done, you turn the computer off, and you go home, and you feel fine. What you're asking me to do is to ruin the rest of my day. I said, I lost the argument. I had to go weed whack, and that's exactly what happened. But my point was, it wasn't that I was better than that, or that didn't. There was a legitimate reason why I didn't want to do it. Other than that, I would have done it. It's like what I do now. Yesterday, my company asked me to drive to Hubbard, which is
hour and 30 minutes.
Yes, and I had 2 hours before I had to clock out, right? And I had to go eat. We had dinner reservations at 4:00.
Oh man!
But what did I do? I did it. I did because that's my job. So I texted the wife. I drove out to Hubbard, picked up a part, came back, and I said, I will leave straight from work to the restaurant. Go ahead and go there, and I'll meet you there. I did it because that's what they pay me to do.
Right.
I didn't go, I got dinner reservations. I don't want to, and if they did it every single day, that'd be different. But this is out of the blue.
This is something
it was
that
just
happened.
Bad timing.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the same thing that happened like at work yesterday. They have me do a certain thing on the computer where I have to set up the wave that's coming for everybody from LDPA all the way out through shipping. Well, it takes about 15 minutes to do it. You got to set it up. It takes about 5-10 minutes to set it up. And then you got to actually do the actual drop in the computer so it goes out through the network and happens. Well, they send me a thing, hey, can we get a wave drop in about 30 minutes? Yep, you got it. So you wait about 10, 12, 15 minutes and you start and you do it. Well, guess what? I go to break at 7:35. 7:39, boom, can we get a wave in 30 minutes? No, I'm not going to be back in the office for another 15, 20 minutes. By the time I drive down there, it's going to be 15 to 20 minutes. I said, and it takes 20 minutes. So I sent a message to the OM, and I'm like, look, when your guys ask for a wave at this particular time or at this particular juncture, you do realize it's not coming in 30 minutes, right? Yeah. And I'm not trying to be...
What you guys don't know is his building is so big that it takes that long for a forklift to go from one end to the other end.
It's huge. And I literally am the furthest away from the break room as anybody.
Yeah, he's in the farthest corner.
The only person that's further than me is the guard shack.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he's like, no, I get it. It's no big deal. It's just bad timing. I said, that's what I said. I get it. It's bad timing. I said, but just... I don't want anybody freaking out that this thing ain't out in 30 minutes because even if I left the break room right now, it's still going to be more than 30 minutes by the time I get there, do all this, and the computer, because that's the other thing, it takes the computer a few minutes to actually run it to get it to release. Yeah. So you got to wait for that too. I said, it's not going to happen. And he's like, no, it's cool. But any other time if they ask for it, at 31 minutes, they're calling and asking, hey, what's going on with that wave? And I'm like, I'm working on it. Like the other day, I had one that I had to finish something out, and it took me about 37, 38 minutes, and they keep on the radio, hey, what's going on with that wave? And like 4 times in 5 minutes, and I was finally like, hey, listen, everybody, I am working on it. It will drop in a minute. Yeah. Everybody just, you're here. I need you here. Yeah. But since you're all excited, I'll allow you to be here. Which is what I tell the old lady all the time when she gets upset. She gets mad at me. But, I mean, seriously, it's coming. I'm working on it. I'm not ignoring you. Honestly, it's coming.
Let me rewind it back a little bit. We were talking about how everyone expects somebody else. People want everyone to think the same and to be the same, but they won't put any effort into actually creating change. Here's another example.
Or understanding why somebody is different.
Right. Well, we are different.
Everybody is.
Everyone is. And that's I think it's a stupid mind is the person who expects, I'm going to go ahead and beat up on the trans people, to expect Christians to accept their way of life. Now, here's the bottom line. They don't need to accept you, and you don't need them to accept you.
Absolutely not.
You just don't. Live your life. But they work on it. But what kills me is the mindset. And there's examples all over the world. I just picked this one.
Right. Well, it's the same thing when those super religious and people would call them all those nasty names and stuff back in the day. That wasn't okay either.
No,
Stop
it wasn't.
being an asshole to these people. Leave them alone.
The only difference was the Christians can at least say, we have a book that tells us to do it. The only problem is they're getting the book wrong.
Well, yeah.
The point is, the brain who expects someone else to think the way they think, it is proof to me that they either haven't lived long enough to understand human beings, or they're so caught up in their self that they don't understand that people are different and have different views. But one thing that killed me, there was a video on Instagram, which I'm embarrassed and I'm still on. And the video was talking about, I think the video was bashing Bill Gates, which of course I do on an everyday basis. I actually take mental pleasure from bashing that piece of shit. I think he's a person who was very smart in the beginning, and money destroyed him.
I think everybody in Silicon Valley has that problem.
I think so too. I think so. Either that, or they've brought in all the evil people in the world to work in Silicon Valley. But he's trying to destroy the planet, is what he's doing. He's trying to kill off everything in the name of saving the planet. And one of the things that he has openly talked about, and every time someone online tries to, he doesn't say that, a video pops up in the comments of him literally saying euthanization. We need to reduce the population. Well, think about that. How do you reduce a population? You either stop babies from happening, or you kill people. There is no other way to reduce the human population.
Well, guess what? We're doing both.
I know, but let's put that aside for a second. So I was reading the comments. Everyone's arguing back and forth, and finally another video was posted on this video, and he said, you do realize he's not talking about there was a word, that's reducing the population in America. Like, he thought he was being clever. And I'm like, so what you're talking about is Bill Gates wants other countries
to lay down and die for...
To die, so Americans can feel good. I said, literally, that's what you're saying?
That's the most evil thing in the world.
Right. And this person thought he was being clever or had it all worked out. Like, no, we need to reduce the populations in, like, say, China. I guess it sucks to be Chinese.
Right.
It's like, how stupid
don't they already do that in certain parts of China?
China's been killing itself for years.
Well, no. If you have certain genders of babies, they're like, nope, you don't need them. And they was that China or was that Japan?
I don't know that much about it, but I do know that population
control. And I don't even
know
if is that actually a wives' tale, or do they actually do that?
I don't know. I never cared much for China. I don't live in China, so I don't worry about. That's why I make fun of people. Like, there was a guy from. I can't think of the country. He had a flag, and he was obviously not American, talking about it. You're stupid if you vote for Trump. And I'm like, why don't you leave American problems to Americans? You know, your country's fucked up too.
Well, they're all fucked
like
up.
The Australians. Everyone, like, there's certain countries. There's Australia, England, and Italy especially, who loves to talk about how they're not voting for Trump.
Yeah, right, because you don't vote here, jackass.
Right, and they say that thinking that we're so stupid. Well, actually, most of us are stupid enough to... And because people argue, well, what are you going to vote for? And I'm thinking, fucker, he's Italian. He's not voting for anything.
Anybody.
Yeah, I just started, like, especially with the Australians. I said, why don't you let Americans worry about American politics? I understand it's a game show to you, but it's actually real over here.
It's a reality show to most of them.
Yeah. And then if
and that's the problem with Trump. No offense I know you like Trump, but that's the problem with Trump. He won't shut the hell up, and he makes it even more of a reality show for these people.
It's not that I like him. I think he's the lesser of the two evils.
Oh well,
that's all it is.
I would say for some things,
I would vote for Kennedy if Kennedy would run, or I'm sorry, if they would have let him run.
Yeah,
I think Kennedy would do the less damage of all of them, and I really think he's trying to fix our medical. And of course, I'm a medical mess, and I can't even get in to see a doctor, so that applies to me. However, I do know that I was able to buy a motorcycle, a nice car, and a house while Trump was in office. That's how much his tax cuts or their tax reductions to the rich, which I am not.
Right.
Affected me. I made way more money when he was in office than I did now.
Well, And then that's the other thing too is people,
and that's real. That's nothing you can argue.
Right. Well, see, the problem with that is all people want to see there. They don't want to see the millions of people and veterans and things that deserve that kind of thing and work, and they pay for their bills and they make enough money to do what they want to do. That's okay. They don't see that. All they see is, like you say, the guy that works at McDonald's that doesn't have enough money to buy a $280,000 house that does it, and then, oh man, I can't afford this.
Yeah, keep
and
in
then
mind,
they blame the government.
Right. Keep in mind,
because some dumbass in a bank was like, oh, we'll make your money for 3 years and then repossess your house.
Yeah.
Well, at that point, with whatever's going on, that's just good business for them because they're going to make their money on the back end either way.
Yeah.
So you want to do it? Go ahead. Be a dumbass. Ruin your credit. Get evicted. Lose your house. We'll make the profit, and then you can live on the street.
That's another thing I want to point out. You're right, because I was able to buy this house, but it's not just me.
Right.
The wife and I make good money together. When you combine our shit together, we make good, and that's why we have this house. Otherwise, we'd still be renting.
Or you would have a small house.
Right. We're thinking about buying our daughter a trailer, not $100,000 trailer.
Yeah.
A $20,000 trailer that I can fix up because she's rebuilding, and
Right.
she wants to move out, which I get.
And you don't even have to do that. I can set you up where I know you can get one, and she can buy it on a land contract, and in 7 years it'll be hers.
We thought about that. But still, someone would first have to buy the trailer. So that's
No, the company that owns the trailer park owns it, and you buy it from them as you live there.
Well, yeah, we haven't looked into it.
I'll show you exactly how to do it. It's pretty simple.
But that's an avenue, because even right now, when we look at apartments that are like full of cockroaches are going for $600 a month.
Well, right, but like I live in a trailer,
right?
And that's what I did. I bought it on land contract. I put so much money down, and I make so much extra money of a payment rather than just the lot rent, because you got to pay for the lot rent because you get sewer and water and all that kind of stuff. So whatever it is, I pay. What was that? The dog's ear? Holy shnikes!
They do that in the middle of the night and wakes everybody in the house up.
But anyway, I pay extra, and then after a certain amount of time, I own the home. It's mine and not theirs anymore.
Yeah.
So like right now, I'm thinking like $700 a month. You're not going to rent a decent apartment for $700 a month.
No, you can. Well,
but at the end of 5-6 years, what do you got?
You got more rent.
Right. So at the end of what I'm at,
not only
I'm not going to own anything too lavish, but at least I'm somewhat better off than where I started.
Yeah, you'll have something you can sell.
Something tangible.
But anyways, my point was that everything is so expensive. That seems to be the only logical thing we can do, because otherwise she'll be spending $1,000 a month. And
right.
She makes good money. She just got a new job, and she makes more money than I do.
Is she working from home still?
Yes.
Yeah.
She works for a hospital.
So there you go. Like I said, and like where I live, it's not in the greatest area, but the area inside of where it is, it's actually pretty good. I've never had any problems there, and I've lived there for 5 years.
Yeah.
So the biggest issue that I think they have, and they'll actually readily admit this whenever you go, if you leave your car unlocked, the kids will steal like your cigarettes and your change and all that kind of. You got to lock your car. They won't bust the window and take it, but if you leave it unlocked, they're going to take your quarters.
Yeah. But anyways. So, once again, we digressed. But
yes. But anyway, we're off on a tangent again.
Well, there's so much shit to tangent about these days. It's just crazy. And what kills me is people always blame... Like, I don't know how to put it. My theory... Not a theory. I believe that most of the problems that people... Let me adjust something here.
See, why is that one pointing at me?
Most people who complain want the government, which means the United States, the federal government, to fix all their problems. And I have a problem with that. The reason I have a problem with that is, once again, you're talking about a small group of people who want the entire country to think the same. My thing is, we already have all these separate governments. We have, correct me if I'm wrong, we have federal, right? Then you have state government. Then you have county government. And you have city.
And then you have village.
And it just trickles right all down. So why would you want the top dog to make everything exactly the same? I don't understand that, because let's say, for example,
there's reasons that there's smaller governments, and because things are different in different
and I've been
parts
saying
of the
this
country.
for years, and the only people who seem to get upset when I say this online is people who want me to vote Democrat. I swear, when I have never had a Republican say, "Oh, you're full of shit, just vote for Trump," but they do say that for the Democrats.
Right.
And my thing is you have all these states. Let's stop at the state. All right, because lower than state is like drinking and stuff like that only mildly affects your life. Maybe taxes. I understand that certain
taxes,
cities
yes.
have higher taxes than others. But let's stop at the state. Let's say you have one state where it's against the law to be gay. How terrible, right? Well, if it's only one state, and if you're gay, you can move. Like, for example, there was a time when it was legal in some states for gay people to get married,
Right.
and illegal in other states. I didn't see a problem with that. Why? Because it doesn't cost that much money to move. And people like the freaks who care can live in this state and inhabit this state, and then everyone else can be free
to think what they want somewhere else.
Yeah, and then like Utah has multiple marriages.
Yeah, it's like, what do they call it?
Polygamy?
Yes, polygamy.
So, okay, we have never changed that. So obviously, to some degree, if you want to have 6 wives, I don't know why you would, but if you did, you could move to Utah and do that.
Utah? Where's
whatever,
Utah?
Whatever,
Is that on Mars?
whatever.
The
rest of the states, that's illegal. To me, that seems like the best way to make a large population happy. Now, I'm not saying that we should go back to making same-sex marriage illegal. I have no problem. You can, if you want to marry a rose, you go ahead and knock yourself. If you want to pay the taxes on the marriage license to marry a plant, you knock yourself out. I don't care. But my point is that I think all these issues that we're bringing up to this one person who can't control the other 50 states should be brought. We should minimize the attention on the federal government and put it all local.
Well, and the other thing that I'm going to tell you, and this is going to piss some people off. We need
everything we say pisses people
off. We
off.
need to separate church and state.
Oh my God, I can't, dude. That has to happen. We cannot have, because and the Christians get all the bashing because they do the most. I think the reason they do the most bitching is because there's so many religions that deal with Christianity.
Right.
Catholicism is just the biggest in the world. That's why it gets the most hate. But yes, you're right. There's pagans. There's Buddhists. There's what's the Quran? What is that?
Those are
I can't think of that religion. My apologies. And you have, and America is supposed to be a melting pot. Do what you want to do, as long as you're not sacrificing life, like a deer or a goat or a fucking chicken or a cat
or other people
or people. As long as you do no harm with your religion. And the problem we're having is you have those who don't believe in God, never will.
Right.
And guess what, America? Christians, they're allowed to think that way.
They are.
They're allowed to live their life that way. They're allowed to not like the concept of a single being having power over you. They're allowed to be that way.
Or if we, Bob Jones, the sky god.
Yes. And then there are people like the natives who believed, oh God, here I go, like the wind and Mother Earth.
Yes, they were all different gods.
Yes, and
the sun,
pagans
the rain,
are the same
all that
things.
stuff, yeah.
Pagans are similar. I'm not trying to say I'm a genius on the subject. I'm just trying to give you enough information to separate them.
Absolutely.
And it's freedom of the religion. It's the first fucking amendment.
Do it.
Or no, it's not the first one. Was that the third one?
Something like that.
I think it's the third one.
It doesn't matter.
Anyways, it's one of the amendments.
You're right in this country to be like that.
That's why whenever I hear a Christian talk about prayer in school, you want to talk about someone who is just completely disconnected, not only from the Christian religion, but from reality.
Right.
Why would you? What do they think it's going to? Let me pray in school. First off, how sincere is, like, say, a 5-year-old in kindergarten when they're praying? They're just doing what they're told.
Exactly.
And then you have the whole
Which is what
concept.
breeds more Christians and more Catholics,
right. And
because they're brought up that way.
Why
and
don't
they're
you go ahead and
scared.
explain to this I don't know, well, let's just use atheists. This kid who doesn't know anything about it. How are you going to explain? Why don't you pray to something you can't see, can't talk to, can't hear about? I don't know. I mean, who's going to pick the topics? Is a teacher going to pick what you pray about? Anyways, the whole point is it's stupid. It's Christians being stupid and imposing their ideology, so they're literally exactly the same as the people they think are sinning. They are on the same plane.
Well, see, here's the other problem with religion, and I just watched a podcast with a guy about this. I'm watching.
That makes you an expert.
No, but listen, I'm going to tell you what the man said. I'm not going to tell you that I'm the expert. I'm going to tell you what the man said.
Okay.
This is a hardened criminal who had been to Gladiator Academy type prisons in Oregon, like where you either need to damn near beat somebody to death or you're going to die yourself because they're going to do it to you. And he loved it. He said his exact mentality going is, I'm going to go in here and fuck some people up. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to go after chomos. Child molesters was his thing. That's what they call him. But anyway, they got into why he did what he did and why he felt the way he did and why when he was younger he leaned that way. And it all boiled down to when he was a kid, he was brought up, I believe, Catholic. It was some type of Christian religion. I can't remember exactly. But he was diddled by his uncle.
Okay.
Or a family member.
So whatever. It was personal to him.
No, what happened was his parents were so hardcore into the religion, gay people were going to hell, and since a male did it to him, he thought he was gay and he was going to burn in hell and wasn't going to be with his parents in the afterlife. So he went absolutely ballistic and did whatever the hell he wanted, whenever the hell he wanted, and fuck reality, fuck everybody else. This is what I'm going to do because I'm going to hell anyway. Because he wasn't comfortable.
That sounds like a bullshit excuse, but go ahead.
But he just wouldn't feel comfortable speaking to his parents, his preacher or whatever, because all he thought as soon as he told them, he would be ousted from the community because he's now gay.
Yeah.
And everything that he was taught and brought up to be was over.
Yeah.
So he just says, I'm just going to be the exact opposite person. He started doing drugs. He was a meth head. I mean, it was insane.
Yeah. And
it all came back to when he was a little kid. He thought it was over because he was molested by somebody that was a man, and now he's gay, and he's not going to get to go to heaven with his family and his parents and everybody that he knows because that's all he knew back then. He was a kid. Mm-hmm. It just completely ruined his mindset, and now he's a career criminal. He's out now, but he's just like, he talks about the things that he did in prison. It's insane. Insane the shit that he did.
And that's so weird because you think, how were you able to get away with anything in prison?
But I mean, if you listen to the guy and like if you just see him talking to him, he's one of the nicest dudes you'll ever meet. But then he starts talking about the stuff that he used to do, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there.
And he was one of the shot callers for Irish Pride, I believe, if I remember what he was saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I completely understand what you're saying. I understand how failure of the parents, failure of the religion, failed this person, and that nobody took a minute to see his behaviors and all that. I understand everything in his world
doesn't make it right.
Not only that, but everything in his world failed him.
Right.
But here's the thing that caught my mind was he said, I'm obviously going to hell, so I'm going to do whatever I want. And isn't it interesting that what he wanted to do was illegal or hurt people?
Well, I think he just chose the easiest way to get through life.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Drugs.
Well, I mean, drugs, but the drugs came whenever he started out stealing cars. Yeah. And the drugs came with the people that he would steal cars with. They all did drugs. He started doing drugs. When he was stealing cars, he needed a way to make money to get the tools he needed to be able to steal cars, and he sold weed and this and that to make the money to buy the things he needed to do what he needed to do. Yeah. So once you start running with those folks, just like me. I mean, I worked in the adult entertainment business in a strip club. The amount of drugs and things that went through there, I can't say that I never partook in any of them.
I can, but I didn't work in bar.
So I mean, they were right there. I mean, it's just when you're in that environment.
Yeah, that's a good example, though. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use what you just said as more clarification.
Yeah.
I've been in bands. I've been in bars and bands. Believe me, the drugs were there.
Oh, yeah.
But the difference was I never had an interest. Now, I can explain why I never had an interest, but I never had an interest.
Right.
So you did what I think 99% of the people on the planet would do.
Try it.
You'll try it. You'll have some fun. And I chose never to do it. I think that there are people who just have a willingness and a want, and those who don't. Now, the reason I never smoked cigarettes or marijuana is because the whole time I was a kid, my lungs were
couldn't breathe.
Fucking meth.
Right.
And
a mess, not meth.
It was a mess. And I never wanted to push my luck. Now, harder drugs, it just wasn't around until I was an adult, and by then, I had no interest.
See, and there was the other thing that he said. He said when he first started doing that kind of stuff, he smoked weed and whatever. He said anything white. He said if you pulled anything out white in my house, I would throw you out. But he was bouncing at a bar as a second, way of income to prove that he had a job because he was making money stealing cars. Mm-hmm. And he said he just had a really long day and he was dead on his feet. And this person that he used to know from when he grew up in California was there and said, "Here, have an Adderall." He's like, "Man, I don't fuck with that shit." And said, "Here, have some meth." And she's like, "I don't fuck with that shit." And she goes, "Well, didn't you take Adderall when you were a kid?" And he's like, "Yeah." He goes, "It's the same thing."
Is it really?
It's one molecule off.
Oh.
So he's like, and they kind of talked about what it was, and he looked it up, and he's like, I guess it is. I'm like, all right, I'll try it. And that's when he said the first time he snorted meth, he said, this is who I am now.
Fuck that bitch, because when he took Adderall, he was never hooked on anything.
Yeah.
Then he does the one molecule difference, and his life is ruined. So and, that bitch was it.
Yeah.
Cunt.
His exact word was, he said, I snorted that first line because he said he wouldn't smoke it because it just looked like poor people shit when she had it on a piece of foil and smoking it with a straw. She said it looked like poor people shit, so I wouldn't do that. I just snorted it. He said, but as soon as I snorted, he said, this is my fucking life now.
You think there's anybody out there who did crack, who didn't cook it in a spoon? Like, I'm not that broke.
I don't know
use
how
a proper cooker.
Well, that heroin's cooked in a spoon.
Is it heroin? I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Crack is cooked by the person that sells it.
I'm sorry. I don't know that much about it. So let's go ahead and rewind and say if you're smoking heroin.
Well, that's another way you can smoke heroin is on a piece of foil.
Yeah.
And then strong. Yeah, that's the way you can do it. Now, you can smoke just straight cocaine that way. Freebase it is what they're calling it. But then when you make it into crack, it's just way more powerful. And then when you smoke crack, what the difference is, I can't tell you how. I guess I could. I mean, I know people that have done all this kind of shit, so I know how it works. You don't burn the actual cocaine rock. When it gets to a certain temperature, it turns into oil. Then the oil burns, and that's what you're smoking.
Wow. Are you smoking the fumes from the oil, or are you?
Yeah, the actual smoke that comes off when the oil burns. Like if you have an oil fire, like a grease fire, the smoke, it's the same thing. But it starts out as that hard rock form. That's why they call it rock, because it's harder than regular cocaine. That's why they call cocaine powder and crack rock. It's a crack rock. It is not a boulder of cocaine. Like you can take a boulder of cocaine because
Judas Priest.
Well, when you take a kilo of cocaine and you knock a piece off, it's still together. It's like a little chunk. It looks like a little tiny chunk. But that's not a rock. That a rock is cooked into what is considered crack. It's mixed with baking soda and other stuff, and I don't know exactly how they cook it, but I guess it's super easy to make. But it like triples the value of the cocaine too.
Sure.
But there's the difference. And then, like I say, when it's cooking, I guess the oil comes off and the oil ignites, and that's the smoke that you're smoking when you smoke crack.
Well, there you go.
And a crackhead told me that.
Oh, all right.
And who knows? He was a crackhead. He might have been nuts.
He had a lot of information for a crackhead.
But the only reason that he was like that is he used to come to the bar. This is so funny. We called him Pimp Juice Johnny. He had a little Honda car, and he would come and he would back up to the door, and everybody would go outside. He'd pop the trunk. What does everybody want? And back in the day, in the 90s, everybody had those little sets of colognes and perfumes and everything. You get like 3 bottles. You get like the wash and the cologne and then the aftershave.
Oh, yes, yes.
This dude would have 60, 80 of them in the trunk of his car. $20.
Oh, and they were full of, okay.
And he would just go steal them. He told me he would literally walk into a store, grab 3 or 4 boxes, walk them out, put them in his car, walk back in, grab 3 or 4 boxes, put them in his car, and then drive away. He said he didn't have to run. He didn't have to smash and grab. He just picked them up and walked out. And then the other bouncer that I worked with was a big muscle head guy, like bodybuilder. He's like, well, I don't want that kind of stuff. I want meat. He's like, no problem. So this cat would go to Fisher's, pick up a basket, go put some meat and stuff in there, act like he'd answer his phone. We having an argument with his wife or whatever. Be like if they're fighting, he'd be screaming on the phone, back like they're going back and forth, and he'd walk out the door, go to his car, and drive away. If anybody stopped him, he'd be like, "Shit, man, I'm sorry, I'm arguing with my wife," and he would go back and he could use his EBT card, pay for it, and then leave. But if nobody said anything, got in his car, kept on going.
There you go.
Sorry, I'm fighting with my wife. I just wasn't paying attention. I'm sorry, and he would go back and pay for it.
There you go.
What a scam, huh?
No, he was. I mean, he may have been a meth head, but he had his shit together.
Yeah, he knew how to get stuff. And this dude would bring meat. He would bring like a $110 like big, whatever you call it, a big ribeye, like the slab you can cut steaks off of.
Yeah.
Sell it to us for like $20.
Damn.
We ate good for a long time.
I was going to say, if I was a restaurant, I'd take advantage of that. I know that's terrible to say, but restaurants got to make a profit too, and sometimes that could be a blessing.
And he did all of that because he was a crackhead.
Yeah, there you go.
Just so we would have the money to go buy crack. Nuts.
Well, we were going to talk about a couple other things, but this
we
conversation.
went off on a tangent. Remember we said we had nothing to talk about?
Yeah. But there is a local business I want to give a shout out to, but not on this episode. I think we've gone into some darker areas, and I don't want to associate that business with this episode. So
absolutely.
We will talk about it next episode. And there's an article here. I'm going to just briefly touch on this since we only have 4 minutes left. back in the early 2000s to late 2000s, AMA, which is the American Motorcycle Association, owned the AMA Superbike races and Supersport races. They owned the sanction.
The series sanction, whatever we call it.
Yeah, the American sanction. If you wanted to go after that, or the next step up, that's World Superbike, which raced all over the world, and then you have MotoGP, which is the top dog. But the AMA was America. They traveled all around America, and they had American motorcycles, and they had a lot of foreigners, a lot of Australians and such racing in the AMA. It was a place to start out while you worked your way into MotoGP. The AMA had sold the AMA Superbike to another company. Oh, they sold it to NASCAR is what they sold it to. And NASCAR kind of fucked it up, and I think NASCAR sold it again. They may still own it. Either that or there's another sanction. There was other sanctions at that time, but I never learned what they were, so I couldn't tell you. I just followed the AMA. But anyways, back in the day, I was really super big into racing, and I knew all the racers' names. I have poster boards that I have signed autographs from these guys.
Okay, it says in 2008, the AMA Pro-Team was sold to the Daytona Motorsports Group, which was... So apparently they sold it to English is tough. Daytona Motorsports Group.
Yeah. And again, I don't know, but I do know that I'm kind of getting back into it a little bit, and some of the old names been popping up. Now, here's a name that we had talked about on this podcast before. This was really fucking interesting to me. I mentioned Matt Mladen, which is an Australian, and he rose to fame in the AMA here in America, not any of the foreign sanctions. But at the time, I think this was maybe 3 years ago, I was reading about him right there on the podcast and learned that he was arrested for supposedly molesting a 9-year-old girl.
Okay.
And that took me by surprise, because when you get to someone who's as talented as this guy was at racing and as famous and as well paid, I can't imagine him doing that, because usually these guys kind of work out what they want sex-wise. Because
fairly easily.
You're right. They've famed, their fortune, and he's put so much effort into racing and being so good and so talented. It just, something's not right there. Well, as it turns out, I was right. About a month or so ago, I read that he beat those allegations. He won in court. He never touched that girl, and it's all bullshit, and it's all gone. So now I can talk about him again. And it says right here, September 27th and 29th, Moto America Premier Motorcycle Road Racing Series is excited to announce that the winningest racer in AMA Superbike history, Matt Mladen, will serve as the Grand Marshal for the Moto America Championship finale at New Jersey Motorsports Park. It's September 27th through the 29th. So, if you're into racing and you want to meet the guy who won 82 fucking races in his 15 years... Yeah, I mean, he was a monster. I remember watching this guy, and he was always won the championship year after year, and if he didn't, it was some weird thing. He always raced Suzuki, but at that time, Suzuki did not have a factory race bike. So it was Yoshimura, who used Suzuki's, who employed Matt Mladen, and he just kicked everyone's ass.
So I have a question, and I want you to answer this, and I want everybody in the comments to answer this.
No one's going to mention anything in the comments, but
this
please
one
prove me wrong.
This one might, because this is going to be one that's going to be a very touchy question.
What's that?
So now this man has been found not guilty of all these charges.
Mm-hmm.
It's been proven that none of it ever actually happened,
mm-hmm.
but his career was stripped from him for however many years, and is he allowed to sue that family for what he could have possibly won during that time after they ruined his fucking career?
Well, here's the thing. There's two things. His career was he was already retired when that...
Oh, he was? Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was long retired from racing.
But how much did he lose in endorsements?
I don't know.
I don't know,
because he's also... This was back in Australia. And
Yeah.
I don't know their legal system. I don't know how the public feels about this.
Right.
For all I know,
Well,
Australians...
in your opinion, what do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Well, first off, where did the allocations come from? Did they come from the child, or did they come from, like for example, the kid, just a quick example, the kid who's on the cover of the Nirvana Nevermind album
Yes.
tried to sue as an adult, saying that
Right.
he didn't give consent. But he lost because even though he didn't give consent, when you're a child, you're the property of the parents, and the parents did give consent.
Yes.
And then he tried to say, well, that's exposure, and then they had to say no because the difference between your body as an adult compared to your body is so different,
right?
Is so vast. That's why nobody's supposed to care about what a child looks like, because when you become an adult, everything changes, and that's when you get judged. So he lost, and I don't know how Australians feel about that. So.
Right. But in your opinion, like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think it sounds to me like somebody did this to him, whether it was malicious or not.
And then maybe they wanted money. I don't know.
And maybe maybe they did it as a money grab for themselves.
Yeah,
right.
I don't know. It depends on how it was done, like how the accusations came out, how it was geared, what they were after. If it was just concerned parents who just wanted justice, then I'm going to say he could sue, but it'd be more fair game up to the jury to whether they reward him or not. If it was, like I said, the adult child,
right?
Just, I spent this day with Matt back in the day, and I think I'm going to make up this claim to punish him and or get money,
because
then 100% he should sue the shit. I'm going to teach this person a lesson. So it completely depends on the details I don't have.
Okay, so that brings me to
I don't like blanket rules or blanket ideologies.
This is exactly why I asked this question, too, because now we're going to move on to another topic.
Be quick, because
there's a celebrity that just got, not just, but has been found guilty of SA. And he's been sent to prison. But he had a trial. It was a mistrial, and then they took him back and got him the second time. The first time was a mistrial because the people that were accusing him admitted to going back and drinking and partying with this person, and then something happened. So they mistrialed it because it's just as much of their fault as it is his. They were just as messed up as he was when it happened, yada, yada, yada. Well, the second time they went back, they did not allow that information, and then he was found guilty, and now he's in prison. I don't think that is correct. I don't think that's right.
Well, it certainly has some red flags. I mean, who was the one who decided? First off, was the information that let him go free, was it relevant? Meaning, not relevant, but like, does it show that somebody
didn't let him go free? It just it was a mistrial.
Right. Did the information make it say that if the person who's the victim made a different decision, the outcome would have been different?
That's exactly why I'm thinking they called it a mistrial, because they can't blame him for them making bad decisions.
Right. So I guess I don't.
So then when
I
they were
can't
prosecuted,
I don't have enough information.
But when they prosecuted him the second time, they suppressed that information.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden he's guilty.
Now
to me, that's a red flag. But I also don't know the details.
Well, I'll shoot you the details because I don't want to get into the whole case.
Besides, I thought once you got found innocent or guilty, you can't be tried for that again.
Mistrial's different. He wasn't found not guilty. He had a mistrial.
Okay.
He wasn't tried. He had a mistrial. The trial never ended.
Ew.
Which is a loophole.
Yes.
Also, there was another thing that I seen, and I'll have to look up who it was or what happened. There was somebody that went to jail for something, to prison for something. And then later, in the appeals court, the judge was like, that's not enough time for what you did, so now you're going to do this. And put him in and gave him more time. I'm going to have to figure out who that was, because that was also an interesting story to me.
Our legal system is a mess.
But anyway, yeah, I just think
because too many people are using emotions instead of intelligence.
And there you go. That's the exact point.
Yeah,
people are voting with their
feels.
Well,
that's even worse. When you say voting, that separates it from me. People, I
mean when they're voting as a juror.
Oh, okay.
They're voting as a juror with their feels instead of what they're instructed to do.
And lawyers know that.
Absolutely.
So they pull on the heartstrings.
Well, and that's why they say certain things. And objection. Okay, strike that. That doesn't. You can't use that in your factor of what your decision is at the end. Well, guess what? It's impossible for them to not use that. They already heard it. Even if they say, "I'm not going to think of that," it's always still going to be in the back of their mind.
Yeah,
that's why they do it.
Yeah. It's broken.
Absolutely.
And I think it's broken because Americans are broken.
Well,
we're become a touchy-feely, and we're just not using our brains.
And I think the problem with that is, like
emotions.
you say, it's either this or this. There's no, it's this or this unless there's this type of circumstance. They will not cover any.
No, because it takes effort. If it's not this or this, then you have to find out what, and that takes effort, and nobody can be bothered.
So
all Americans only care about their reproductive systems. That's all they ever care about.
Well, that's another reason I say that that all that stuff needs to be taken out of politics. I mean, it's
Yeah, we need to start voting for people who know how to be leaders instead of celebrities.
well, there you go.
All right. Well, I'm going to
Anyway.
end this,
We're out.
and I'll catch you guys next week.
Peace.